Siren Head, Black. Black Siren Head is a tall creature, taller than all the other Siren Heads known. It is also much lighter. In fact, Black Siren Head is so light it can float in the air without difficulty. The creature is one of a group of 4 creatures. This group is responsible for summoning the giant who took so many lives and led to so many public leaks about the true nature of the world. It was a planned event, with each of these 4 creatures working in concert from opposite ends of the country. Its body is made up of thin, wire-like fibers. Fibers that allow it to contort its shape in all sorts of ways. It will normally travel at night, drifting upon the wind currents. Its black colouring makes it nearly impossible to see, particularly as it likes to hang between buildings camouflaged as wires or vines. Black Siren Head's tall and thin body doesn't make it any less dangerous than others of its kind. With a seemingly gentle motion, it can render its body razor sharp and slice through most materials. Looking for all the world like a stick figure, it waits until someone walks underneath or flies above it. Then, it drapes its wire-like body around them and yanks them high into the air, way up into the sky, where it either drops them or slices them to ribbons, making it rain blood. Black Siren Head is dangerous because it mostly hunts things in the sky, and it especially loves to mess with planes. It'll wrap itself around a plane during takeoff and worm its way inside. It will then slowly disable the vital systems, causing the flight to destabilize and, in some cases, crash. The whole time, Black Siren Head will taunt the passengers about their looming fate. Trying to call for help does no good. One of the first systems it targets is the communication system, damaging it in such a way that they can receive transmissions but not send them. Most of the time, it'll make its way through each cabin slowly, winding around passengers with thin, invisible wire. Then it'll puppet them to an isolated area of the plane and eat them whole. Not even a stain is left behind. And Black Siren Head will repeat this action over and over until the plane lands with many passengers missing, seemingly vanished into thin air. When compared with the brown Siren Head that the agency is familiar with, Black Siren Head is much more intelligent and vicious in its interactions with humans. It is also the Siren Head that migrates the most, probably due to its ability to float and fly through the air. This information was taken from Pan Am Flight 401 and the body cam footage of Agent Iowa, who was on a flight home for vacation in Washington. She had boarded the flight in Thailand, unaware that Black Siren Head had hitched a ride on her flight. Such trips can last for up to 30 hours and include layovers, so people boarding and disembarking the flight is a common thing. Plus, Agent Iowa was exhausted after dealing with a creature in Thailand who liked to crack open heads like peanuts. So she slept, and missed the signs that Black Siren Head was on her plane. When a full quarter of the flight vanished over the course of her rest, it was only her active body cam that picked up the odd signs. The agent wasn't awake to do so herself. Iowa was lucky that the wire monster didn't decide to eat her while she slept. So, when they arrived in China for the layover, she woke up. She didn't think the missing people were odd. It was when she was awake and alert during the leg of the flight that approached the United States that she started noticing odd things. People getting up to use the bathroom and never returning. Odd static over the intercom, and the fact that she couldn't reach the stewardesses, the pilots, or even use her phone to make a call. It was enough to make her get up and look for the air marshal that rides on every plane. Sadly, he was one of the first on the flight to be eaten, so Iowa failed to find him. That was when the plane started hitting rough turbulence, enough to shake the plane fiercely. This brought one of the remaining stewardesses out to instruct everyone to buckle up. No one knew it was Black Siren Head having its fun, shaking the plane to scare the passengers. At that point, it had full control of the ship, so the monster decided to play a recording of bad, off-tune jazz music. It was annoying enough to cause complaints from the remaining passengers, and no matter what the flight attendants did, They couldn't find a way to stop it. It alternated the bad jazz music with the creepy laughter of children, unnerving the passengers even more as it took random victims, one by one. Finally, when only a third of the original flight was left, it spoke to everyone. Black Siren Head told them that it had eaten them, and that all the passengers who had vanished were dead. In a cruel female tone, it told everyone that it would spare the remaining 70 or so people on the flight who were still alive, but they had to offer up 10 people for it to eat. It was their only choice, and their only chance for survival. At this point, Iowa had reached her carry-on luggage and loaded her gun. She pulled out a fake badge and told everyone that she was the air marshal. She was going to find out what was harming people and stop it, but they must not listen to the demands of a terrorist. Her actions calmed the panicking flyers and stalled out Black Siren Head's plan to torture them. She went to find the pilots to order them to land the plane as soon as possible. What she didn't know was that, as she left the cabin, Black Siren Head was putting another plan into action. It used a young boy's voice, telling the other passengers that if they gave it the marshal, everyone else would live. Iowa reached the pilot's cabin and banged on the door. She demanded that he open up, only to be refused. It seemed that Black Siren Head had killed one pilot and told the co-pilot that as long as he flew the plane, his life would be spared. The pilot, having seen his friend and co-worker eaten right in front of him, agreed to the demand and refused to let Iowa in. Nothing she said would convince him to listen. Frustrated, the agent returned to the main cabin, only to be ambushed by the terrified passengers. Tough as Iowa was, having dealt with creatures and monsters for many years, she couldn't match 70 scared people in a cramped area. She was pinned, disarmed, and handcuffed to her chair. The ringleader, the scared young man who convinced everyone else to sacrifice Iowa, addressed the ceiling. They had taken the marshal down, so they get to live, right? Black Siren Head congratulated them for a job well done, and then it laughed. The lights cut off and the screaming started. Iowa felt liquid splash onto her and she closed her eyes. Eventually, the screaming stopped and the lights came back on. Everyone else was dead, sliced to ribbons. There were a lot of pieces missing. Iowa was the only one in the cabin left alive, and she was covered in the splatter of Black's victims. This time, it was as messy as possible. That was when Iowa knew she was going to die on this flight. She said it to the empty air and was answered only with laughter, and then silence. The rest of the flight proceeded in silence, and eventually the plane landed in Washington. The handcuffs restraining Iowa fell apart, sliced into pieces. With the voice of an elderly woman, Black Siren Head said that it was full and that she was free to go. The airplane's door opened. Iowa knew that the creature was lying, but she had to take her chance. She had a pistol strapped to her ankle, and if she ran, she could make it down the hall connecting the plane to the terminal. So she casually got up and, as soon as she reached the exit, Iowa broke into a run. For her efforts, the agent made it 7 steps before wires sliced through the connecting hallway and grabbed her body. Black Siren Head lifted Iowa high into the sky, sending her to heights approaching those that the plane had reached while in flight. Once it was high in the sky, Black Siren Head froze motionlessly in the air, facing southeast. Then it screamed like a siren. It was the loudest thing Iowa had ever heard. It was also one of the last, as Black Siren Head released her. As Iowa fell to her death, she heard it. 3 other sirens in the distance, answering Black Siren Head's call.